You said the Raptors are going to be the best series, the Sixers
Second
and Raptors?
best.
Second best.
Because the best one's Celtics and Nets,
100%.
right?
100%.
Celtics 51-31, third seed versus the Nets 44-38, seventh seed. Now,
This would have been my second best series.
I
What's number
don't.
one?
Utah and Dallas.
Yuck.
Luka's not even
That's
playing.
why I said this would have been my second.
Now, I don't know what Rivers is going to say. I know what you're going to say, though. So, why are the Celtics going to win this series? Drew.
The Celtics are going to win this series because since the All-Star break, they have proven that they are the best team in basketball. Now, what really makes this a little bit more difficult is that Rob Will is not going to be playing at the start of the series. With Rob Will, his presence, his versatility defensively is going to be missed desperately. Now, regardless of that fact, Rob Will is still projected to come back in this series, as supposedly is Ben Simmons. However, we shall see. They're targeting as early as Game 4. Again, that's TBD. But
For example, I mean, just for your information, Rob Will is coming back, but if he does, it's going to be Game 6 or 7. It's not going to be
If they
early in
go
the
to
series.
6 or 7.
okay. All right. So regardless of that fact, the Celtics have been the best defense in the NBA. They have been one of the best offensives in the NBA since the All-Star break. And now what really scares people is the duo of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving for obvious reasons. They are arguably, and in my opinion, the best offensive duo in basketball. But it comes with worries when the rest of the supporting cast is in question, and they are super inconsistent. Bruce Brown, his play, you can respect his role for the team. I can't trust Bruce Brown being my third, fourth best player in a series and getting me past the Celtics, who have been unbelievable defensively and offensively, have Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, who can put up with any team. And Tatum has shown that by himself, he has the capabilities to propel his team to a victory. And I just think that I look at the Celtics, and they're playing better team-oriented basketball than the Brooklyn Nets right now. If KD or Kyrie, which, listen, KD and Kyrie, either or, they're more likely than not going to play bad. But if one of them has an off night, you can guarantee that the Celtics are going to win that game. Because these two need to be perfect for the Nets to get past the Celtics. And again, if you really want to look at it like this, the Celtics, if you watched our football episode, our buddy Joel, our buddy Joel Dehls said this perfectly. How can you expect the Celtics to compete with the Bucks, to compete with the Suns, if they can get past the Nets? If you are really the championship contender that you are, you get past the Nets and you don't look back. Because there's no way that you are statistically the best defense in basketball and record-wise the best team in the NBA since the All-Star break, and you can't get past a team that has been super inconsistent throughout the season. What you can look to is that KD, when he's on the court, has been great.
Let him go.
But I'll say this. I think the team-oriented basketball will win, and ultimately right now the Celtics are the best team-oriented basketball team that there is.
Well, that's easy. What Joe said is very easy to pick apart.
Casual.
For one, they can't.
It's not casual. You can't get past the Nets, who everyone has as contenders.
They were the number one team before Kevin Durant went down. They were the number one team in the East. They were better than us. They were better than the Celtics. They were better than the Bucks. They were better than the Heat when Kevin Durant was healthy and playing at an MVP
and they
level.
were still inconsistent.
But they were the best team. So
I'm not saying
I don't know why he said that.
No, that's not true. But
what's not true? What he's saying or me?
Joel said, how do you expect the Celtics to beat the Bucks? I don't. How do you expect the Celtics to beat the Suns? I don't. I don't think the Celtics win the championship. I think
with Rob Will,
if they beat the Nets, they're losing to the Bucks in the second round.
With Rob Will,
you can have them.
You know, I don't. Even if Rob Will plays this series, I don't think it changes much. I don't. I really don't.
I'd love to hear why.
The season series this year is 3-0. The Celtics have won, but 2 of those wins came without KD or Kyrie. The one win was on March 6th. They won 126-120. 28 lead changes, tied 19 times. KD, one game fresh off his MCL injury, dropped 37. Aldridge dropped 14 points. I thought he was pretty huge in that game. Kyrie had 19 points, 8 for 18, didn't even play that well. Bruce Brown actually has been playing well for the Celtics. Last 2 games, 15, 6, and 5, and he shoots 40% from 3 this season on 1 attempt, which isn't a large sample size.
It's nothing.
It's nothing, but Bruce Brown he's not Matisse Thybulle out there. Like, Bruce Brown has hit clutch threes this season. He's capable of hitting
He's serviceable.
big shots.
He's serviceable on offense.
Now, in that game...
He's serviceable. I'm not saying that he's anywhere near the word
If you
good.
don't guard
He's
him,
serviceable. Which is why he is as effective as he is.
Now, in that game, Tatum had a career night. 54 points. A career game, 54 points. Rob Will had 5 blocks, 4 in the first quarter. And Jaylen Brown, although he didn't have 30, he had 21 on 8 for 17 shooting, which is really damn good efficiency. I want to give props to the Celtics. It was a great in-season turnaround. They started out 25-25, then went 26-6, which was one of the best records in the NBA in the second half of the season. But the Nets, and I said this on Twitter, this isn't a 2-7 matchup. And part of the reason why people are giving the Celtics the benefit of the doubt in this series and they're betting on them is because this does have some Suns versus Lakers last year vibes where, oh, we're just picking the Lakers because they have LeBron and AD, and that's why we're picking the Nets because it's KD and Kyrie, but this is totally different. And the Celtics are not those Suns. They're not those Suns. Those Suns went to the finals. Those Suns are a well-oiled machine that run a cohesive system on offense that is damn near unstoppable. Those Suns are just as good defensively as those Celtics. Now,
no, they're not.
I mean, how? The Celtics are first defensive rating, the Suns are second.
Again, with Rob Will, this is a whole different story. It's a whole different story.
Now, the reason this isn't a 2-7 matchup, the Celtics and Nets is an Eastern Conference Finals matchup. It's unfortunate
100%.
that the Celtics faced the Nets in the first round. There is a reason why the Bucks intentionally ducked the Nets in the first round because they didn't want to face the Nets. The Nets are 36-19 with Kevin Durant in the lineup. That's a .655 win percentage, which would be first in the East. That's the best win percentage in the Eastern Conference with Kevin Durant. So the Nets with KD and Kyrie are a 1 seed. With KD and Kyrie, 123 offensive rating, the best in the NBA by far. They outscore teams by 13 points per 100 possessions when both of them are on the floor. The Nets finished on a 12-5 stretch, so they've gotten better towards the back half of the season. In the last 17 games, they've had the 8th best defense in the NBA. So they've been good defensively. They've been elite offensively. And this year, the Celtics struggle in close games, only 13-22. Only the Indiana Pacers were worse. The Nets are 22-20 in clutch games. So that's a coin flip. Every single time Nets are in a tight game, it's a coin flip.
It's not that good.
They're going to win. I mean, it's better than 13-22.
And that's you accounting. You don't know who's playing, who's not playing.
Yeah. The Nets, in my opinion, they're going to win this series. And yeah, Rob Will could change it a little bit, but really, even if Rob Will is there, I still give the Celtics the edge. I think Ben Simmons, if he comes...
By the way, the Nets the edge.
Ben Simmons, if he comes back, if he doesn't, it doesn't really matter. Like, I think the Nets can beat the Celtics without Ben Simmons. I think if the Nets are in control of the series, Ben Simmons doesn't come back for this series. My question is, will LaMarcus Aldridge play? Will Blake Griffin play? I don't think so. They've both been iced out of the rotation, which has kind of been confusing to me, but Steve Nash wants more defense, so that's why he goes out with James Johnson and Bruce Brown, and he has those guys come in. Patty Mills and Goran Dragic have to play really well this series, so their bench doesn't get outscored by a lot when KD and Kyrie are out, because when KD is out, the Nets really struggle. Like, they are horrible without him. So they need their bench to step up. But I think the Nets win this in 6. I think KD and Kyrie, just too much. Bruce Brown has filled his role as a roller, as a screener, being in the dunker spot.
I mean, this is what he did last season.
Yeah, but the thing
he
people
choked in the playoffs.
The thing people confuse about spacing is that spacing, you can have good spacing even if you're not a good shooter, as long as you're a good passer. And Bruce Brown is a good passer. Is he great? No, but he's a serviceable passer. That's the same reason why Memphis...
That's basically his game.
That's why they made the trade for Steven Adams and they shipped out Jonas, because Jonas is the one who offers more spacing, you would think, but Steven Adams is the better passer, so it's still been... Memphis has been able to keep that spacing even with Steven Adams.
Mm-hmm.
And they filled their hole at center with Andre Drummond, who now is he not the best rebounder in this series now? You know, those before Drummond, the Nets were giving up a lot of second chance opportunities because they didn't have that defensive rebounder. And Andre Drummond is somebody who fills that role. This, like I said, is an Eastern Conference Finals matchup. I don't think Celtics fans should be down if they lose this series because the Nets are a tough team and they're going to give the Bucks a run for their money in the next round. But I have the Nets in 6. I think KD and Kyrie, as long as they play, they can beat anybody in the NBA.
I do think the Celtics should be upset if they lose this first round series. You just did all of that.
Yep.
And you just had a damn near historic regular season, 100%. A historic turnaround, and you go and you lose in the first round. No matter who you play, you should be upset because you should have, after a historic run like that in the regular season, at least push for an ECF. In my opinion, Celtics is ECF or bust for me, honestly. I feel like if you just did that, it's ECF or bust.
I agree.
But they're young, so it's okay. Next year, blah, 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 but they should still be upset. That's Celtics. Celtics, I love their defensive scheme. I love the fact that they switch everything. Robert Williams, he's going to be missed because his interior defense, but I think they'll be fine. Al Horford has been good.
Definitely.
Marcus Smart is still that anchor for that defense. Jason Tatum has played like an all-NBA defender this year. Jaylen Brown can still play at an all-NBA defense. And Derek White, Peyton Pritchard has been solid when he plays. So they're fine. I think they're fine. Yeah, Robert Williams is going to hurt, but I think with a team that doesn't have an interior offensive presence, it's not going to hurt. Like if they played the Bucks first round, then obviously Rob Brewer would have hurt mightily because Giannis, this guy, you could slow him down with that. But because Kevin Durant and Kyrie and them, they're not a dominant offensive presence, Rob Brewer is going to be missed as much.
Interior offensive presence.
And it really doesn't matter because Kevin Durant is shooting over anybody. Kyrie Irving is scoring on anybody. Regardless
but they just
of the
have the best options to defend against them.
Yeah, but even without Rob Will, you're still going to have Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Al Horford,
great
Derek
defensive
White.
Unit.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying I don't think the Rob Will loss is that big of a loss.
In this matchup.
Their five-man defensive lineup is still elite.
Listen, when he's saying they don't have a chance against Milwaukee, they don't have a chance against the Suns, that is wrong when Rob Will's in the lineup. The Nets, 100%, which is why I still will pick the Celtics. They still have a unit that can defend against Kyrie. You're not gonna stop them. There's no stopping elite players like that. The only ones that can stop them are themselves. But regardless of that fact, you still have Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Al Horford, Derek White, Payne Pritchard, Grant Williams that can all defend at a solid to elite level. Like
you mentioned the bench. You know, Patty Mills, Dragic have to play better. Of course, for me, the X factor is Seth Curry. You know, he's been dealing with an ankle injury. If he gets it going. If he gets it going, he gives you that. Game. If he gets ankle injury, like I said,
I know facts.
If he gets it going, gives you that 18, that 19 on 40%. His playoff splits are ridiculous, by the way. He's shooting like 50-50, 88, something like that. So if he gets it going and becomes that third guy for them, I don't think there's a guy on Boston offensively that can keep up with Seth Curry because of his shooting and the way he's able to just create on offense, running the pick and roll and able to shoot over the top. So it for me, I got Nets in 6. You know, I think Kevin Durant, like I said, I don't think they're a 7-seed team. I just think they've been dealing with a lot of inconsistencies in the lineups, a lot of injuries. They were the number 1 team in the East when Kevin Durant was healthy, like at his best. He was an MVP candidate, and they were the number 1 team in the East. So for me, I have the Nets and Celtics. I think Kevin Durant and Kyrie in the playoffs, we know what they're going to do. Kevin Durant especially, he's probably the best player in the East right now in the playoffs. And I think right now, Jason Tatum, he's great. You know, Jaylen Brown, they're great. But I think those other guys, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, they're going to be able to step it up. Patty Mills, Goran Dragic with that experience, that championship experience, those runs, that experience is going to help them too much. So for me, I got the Nets in 6.
And also, with Boston, they switch the most of any team in the NBA.
Switchable defense. I like it, though.
The thing about that is that switching on defense like that matters when you're facing an offense that runs a lot of sets and you have to switch off these screens. The Nets, it doesn't really bother them. Yeah, because with the Nets, they're switching, but they're ISOing regardless.
6'3", Derek White is not going to like Kevin Durant.
The Nets are ISOing regardless, so that's why the switching isn't going to be as impactful versus the Nets because, I mean, Durant and Kyrie are going to do what they do regardless on anybody. It doesn't matter who's on them.
Yeah, I like the Nets in this match. I wouldn't say the Bucks was ducking them, but
they were ducking them.
They benched everyone to not play them.
Intentionally lost.
To me, it's rest.
Nah, but it was corny of them.
Rest. Rest.
I got a question for you.
Talk to me.
Seth Curry has better shooting splits in the playoffs than Steph, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
He has less responsibility.
So what's the question?
I don't know what the question.
No, that's the question. I was asking him if he had better splits.
He has better shooting splits than Harden too, by far.
I was asking about Steph.
Yeah,
though.
but I just wanted to make sure that in case and LeBron, if we wanted to be
so
jokey,
the better brother.
I mean, he's better than all three of them. If that's the case, he has better splits than most guys. Kevin Durant, LeBron, Steph,
Jordan,
Jordan. Like what? Magic, Kareem. What? Want to keep going?
Well, that just proves that the Nets should win the series with Seth,
even though he's hurt.
This is gonna be a fun one.
It was an ugly game against the Cavaliers, and the Cavaliers
I actually think
and Celtics. It's leaps
the
and
Nets
bounds.
win in 7. I think this is a 7-game series.
You think I don't think the Nets win in Boston.
I think they can.
I think.
I don't know why they can't.
I don't think. No, I didn't say they can't. I just said I don't think they will. That's like, I think they have to win in 6.
If the Celtics go up 2-0, it could end in 5.
I don't think that's all the way fact. I've seen a lot of teams go up 2-0 and lose 2 straight.
I agree, but I think the Celtics are a different unit.
I saw the Nets in Game 7 lose to Milwaukee at home.
Tough.
Because of that, I for me at least, I don't think when these teams are this talented, home court is gonna really matter as much. Like I think Kyrie Irving would love the opportunity to shut Boston fans up in a Game 7. Like I think he would drop 40 in that type of environment and say, I'm going to drop 40 and then step on this logo and walk out too.
Yeah,
and doing it on the Defensive Player of the Year, you just got to applaud him if he does it. But I don't know.
Mikal Bridges is playing this series?
Ooh.
Didn't it already come out that he won Defensive Player of the Year?
He's the favorite.
Yeah. I have the Celtics in 7. I would not be shocked if they won in 5.
I have Nets in 6. I would be shocked if anybody wins in 5, to be honest.
Yeah, this isn't a 5-game series.
This is definitely. I wouldn't. Why do you keep calling it an Eastern Conference matchup, though? You said the Celtics aren't going to the Eastern Conference Finals.
They're an Eastern Conference Finals caliber team. They're better than Miami to me. The Nets are better than Miami to me.
Okay.
I think it's the Celtics, Nets, and Bucks are all in the tier of those conference finals teams, and the Heat are conference finals teams as well. We're getting a conference finals matchup in the first round.